promulgation of National Charter has completed 6 years beginning today. Sadly, the country and its politicians seem to remember the Constitution once a year on its anniversary, while the rest of the year they seem non-committal in safeguarding the most valued national doctrine. Observers feel the onus to ensure wider acceptability of the Constitution lies on the mainstream political forces who were instrumental in its promulgation. Good morning, I am Bipashna Thamang and these are the headlines of the hour. It's the 6th Constitution Day today. Political analysts say onus on the mainstream political forces to ensure its wider acceptability. State hospitals fail to utilize well-facilitated infrastructures. Lack of human resource, poor management and political indifference puts public at the receiving end. 3 months since the high-scale devastation, Melamchi Bazaar resumes normal business activities to a welcome delight of local residents. And Nepal have one more go at Oman in the Tri-Series later today. Team Nepal looking to end the series on a high. It's 6th Constitution Day today as the promulgation of the National Charter has completed 6 years. The Constitution was supposed to ensure the rights of people from walks of life. However, with every passing year since its promulgation, the grievances against the National Charter too have surged. The National Charter was promulgated on this day as per Nepali calendar 6 years ago with much fanfare as the Constitution for the first time enshrined federal republicanism, inclusivity and proportional representation. However, 6 years down the line, the Constitution has failed to deliver to the expectation of the people, and a scenario mainly brought about by the mainstream political parties. The politics all these years have been power-centric as the demands of the people have largely remained ignored. Amid ever-increasing grievances, political observers feel the onus to ensure wider acceptability of the Constitution lies on the mainstream political forces who were instrumental in its promulgation 6 years ago. Majority of the government hospitals in the country boast of well-facilitated infrastructures, even as their use has been largely limited to hospital storage. Despite having specialist doctors, adequate infrastructure and resources, poor management and political indifference has put the public at the receiving end in majority of the government hospitals of the country. This has led to service seekers opting for treatment in private hospitals at the expense of exorbitant charges. We have more in this report. The country's oldest health facility, Bed Hospital, has the capacity of serving more than 3,000 patients on a single day, while around 100 patients reach the emergency ward on a daily basis. However, the emergency ward has only 30 beds to avail, and the patients are compelled to receive treatment on chairs due to lack of beds. Bed Hospital has no dearth of specialist doctors with over 1,300 employees. The hospital also has quality and updated resources with competent infrastructures. However, patients and their relatives reaching the hospital for treatment have to bear the brunt of lackluster services. Likewise, government hospital in Dadaldhura, having a quota of 29 doctors, has just 1 doctor to show at the moment. Dialysis machine, which plays an instrumental role in the treatment of kidney patients, has been in the storage for 2 years now at the 50-bedded Gorkha Hospital. Cooling machine for dead bodies is also in the same state without use. State of service and resources in majority of the country's government hospitals is on a dire condition. Some lack human resources, while others don't utilize the available resources. Patients reaching the hospital for treatment are the ones to suffer. The immense torture faced by patients and their relatives compel them to reach private hospitals for easy and quality treatment. However, most of the time, patients are only fleeced in the name of quality and quick services. Understandably, government hospitals have suffered at the hands of political indifference and managerial lapses. Lack of doctors, lengthy queues, and pungent odor very well represent the condition of state hospitals in the country. Sadly, the government has remained largely indifferent towards revamping the pathetic condition of its hospitals to the dismay of general public. The Melamchi Bazaar that was devastated by the floods on Melamchi and Larke River triggered by monsoon rains earlier this year has slowly started to return to normalcy. The market area has been cleaned as some businesses have also resumed. We have more in this report. Melamchi Municipality's Chandra Bahadur Tamang didn't have the inclination that the marketplace will see normal activities this soon following the unprecedented devastation 3 months ago. The Melamchi Bazaar suffered massive scale of damage in a single night of mayhem some 3 months ago, causing displacement of a number of businesses and local residents. The market area that recorded transactions worth millions of rupees on a daily basis had remained mostly barren for the past 3 months. However, with the wide-scale involvement of local residents from Melamchi in cleaning and rebuilding some damaged infrastructure, the market area resembles looks of the past. The local residents earlier were highly apprehensive regarding business activities. Many hotels and houses were buried under flood debris, mainly composing sand and soil up to 3rd floors. However, with the opening of the market, wholesale shops, eateries, restaurants, hotels, among others, Melamchi is back to business as usual. Welcome back. Nepal, despite its lower carbon emissions, is vulnerable and at high risk to climate change impacts due to fragile topography, climate-sensitive livelihoods of people, and limited adaptive capacity. As nations work to help limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the Nepal government has also introduced the nationally determined contributions, which has highlighted electric vehicles as a key to attaining the global targets. More in this report.
The transport sector in Nepal contributes around 13% of the total greenhouse gas emission in the country. An electric vehicle could be a solution to many of the environmental problems facing the world. Fossil fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emission would both be reduced, and for a country like Nepal that imports fuel worth over 250 billion rupees annually, it would help narrow the ever-widening trade deficit. But even with a handful of options to choose from, the number of electric vehicles in operation, as per Climate Change Tracker, is just 1%. 34-year-old Atit Shrestha, who runs a restaurant in the capital, despite his concerns for the degrading environment, recently purchased a diesel-run four-wheeler that cost him over 5 million rupees.
The main problem is charging port.
The main problem is charging point. It's risky to take electric vehicles on a long trip. The government some time back had also hiked the price of e-vehicles, which had turned me down. We never know what's going to happen to the prices in future.
The government of Nepal, through its second nationally determined contribution, submitted to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, has pledged to raise the portion of private e-vehicles in the total annual sales to 90% by 2030, and in case of four-wheeler public passenger vehicle to 60%. The intention is to reduce the demand for fossil fuel by 28% and the same for greenhouse gas emissions. The government, proposing a replacement budget, recently announced of establishing 500 charging stations across the country to support the electric vehicle system. The government has also signed an agreement with Saja Yatayat to procure 300 electric buses. However, experts highlight the importance to also focus on other e-vehicle segments.
Government policy has only been focusing on mass transport. If we are to attain 100% use of electric vehicles, we should also bring electric taxis, three-wheelers, auto rickshaws and microbuses. We have yet to focus on these electric vehicle segments.
At present, in case of private electric vehicles, general public have to bear 10% customs taxes. The government has called on 10 companies to manufacture e-vehicles within the country itself, which it believes will help attain one among the NDC targets.
The government has also called on 10 big companies to manufacture electric vehicles here itself, based on requirements specific to our country. We are hopeful that the budget introduced this time around will help us meet NDC targets.
Based on a recent assessment report, 35 districts of Nepal are at high to a very high vulnerability risk to climate change. Switching to e-vehicles can be a strong step forward to reducing the impacts of climate change, especially for the vulnerable population.
Should the government be able to invite these companies to at least assemble electric vehicles, if not manufacture within the country itself? The general public would have a variety of options to choose from in competitive prices as well. This would encourage them to switch to electric options and thereby also helping the global target of meeting zero carbon emissions by 2050. Now, will that happen? It's a wait and watch for now. With Murari Ghimire on cameras, Sarah Sapsunama for Kantipur News.
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: what should be done to encourage the use of electric vehicles? The options: option A, infrastructure development; option B, tax waiver; and option C, establish domestic factory. The voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked people in all these 7 provinces what should be done to improve the service of government hospitals. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
राम्रो डाक्टर राख्नु पर्यो, पीसीआरहरु राम्रो सेवा दिन सक्नु पर्यो।
जति जनशक्ति त्यहाँ पदपूर्ति गर्नु पर्यो। औषधि अभाव होला, अन्य बेडको अभाव होला, अन्य सामग्री अभाव होला, त्यसलाई परिपूर्ति गर्नु पर्यो।
स्पेशलाइजेसन गरेको चाहिँ डाक्टरहरुको अभाव छ, त्यो डाक्टरहरुको पदपूर्ति हुनु पर्यो।
जति स्टाफहरु छन् हैन, एक्टिभ हुनु पर्छ।
टोकन सिस्टम राखेर अरु लाइन क्रमबद्धले आफ्नो चाहिँ नाम पगार्दा जाने त्यस्तो सिस्टम भइदियो भने राम्रो हुन्थ्यो।
विशेषज्ञता हासिल गरेको डाक्टरहरुको चाहिँ उपस्थिति छ, राम्रो उपस्थिति छ, तर पनि उहाँहरूले जुन सरकारी अस्पतालमा समय दिनु भएको छ त्यो समय एकदम न्यून छ।
Sports News.
Team Nepal are playing their last match against Oman in the Tri-Series under the ICC World Cup League 2. The one-day match against Oman at Al Amirat ground is scheduled to kick off at 4:15 Nepal time. Nepal have registered 1 win and 2 losses in the 3 matches they have featured in the series. Nepal began the series with a bang, registering a morale-boosting 5 wickets win over USA. However, Nepal were beaten by Oman in their next match. There were more miseries for Nepal as they went down to USA by 6 wickets in the 3rd match they played. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.